Assalamualaikum. My name is Gilang Fahreza from class 7. I want to read my reading journal book. The title is Mieko and the Five Treasures. Chapter 1, telling about Mieko stared at the art supplies lined up on the red lacquer chest. Her art teacher, Mr. Araki, had called them the Four Treasures. There was a fine sable brush, an ink stick, an inkstone shaped like a lily pond, and a roll of rice paper. Mieko had used them to paint Japanese word pictures. Calligraphy was what she liked to do more than anything else in the world. But everything was different now. She would never forget the day when the atom bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, sending shockwave to her, and when Mieko was knocked out to the ground. She put up an arm to shield her face. A jagged piece of glass had turned into her hand, ripping a deep gash from her finger to the wrist. Blood was everywhere. Now, 2 weeks later, the wound still throbbed painfully underneath the bandage. And now she had been shipped to Grandma and Grandpa's farm by her father and mother. Every morning, Mieko put on the dress that Grandma had sewn out of an old summer cotton kimono. There was always much to do around the farm. Grandma never seemed to stop working, cooking, cleaning, sweeping, or mending. Mieko tried to help. As the summer mentioned it, she never hoped that they had forgotten, but one muggy September morning when they were eating rice and miso soup, Grandma calmly said, "Mieko, you will be going to school next day." But there was no escape. She trudged alongside Grandpa to school. First day of school, Mieko slipped out of her geta and put them in one of the shoeboxes in the hall. She whipped her moist hand on her skirt and shifted from one foot to the other, waiting for a teacher come along and direct her to the right classroom. Out of the corner of her eye, Mieko saw the students come in, some lounging, some arm in arm. They had lived in the town all their life and knew each other well. Only Miss Suzuki that spoke to Mieko. As they filed out into the schoolyard, Akira came up behind Mieko and grabbed her school bag. He dug into it and pulled out her painting brush. In a flash, he swaggered out into the yard, shooting the other boys. "Monster hand, dirty old atom bomb brush. Stop that. You're acting like a bunch of babies," said a small girl Akira that helped Mieko. Mieko left the school, but instead of going straight home, she slowly walked into the field. Grandpa was working up to his chips in rice plants that were turning a golden brown. At the house, a shock was waiting for her. Inside the entrance, nearly placed together on the cement floor, tossed outward to shiny brown shoes. Miss Suzuki thinks that she should stay home for a little while until you have your strength back, Grandma said. The teacher nodded. Mr. Suzuki said it's okay to paint at home, but how could she do that? Without the five treasures, it didn't matter. Later that day, the mailman brought a letter from Mother. Mieko lied when her grandmother asked if there was a letter. She thought, "I've lost the fifth treasure for good, and I never be happy again," said Mieko. The letter from Mieko's mother has arrived again, but the message goes to her grandparents. Mieko, who feels bored with her daily life, imagines wanting to try to escape to the beach, while her grandmother and grandfather keep convincing her to go to back school, just like what Mieko's doctor said when visiting her house to check his hand. And Mieko fled up the mountain and relaxed by the river. Then she heard a strange sound in the bushes. She remembered the story of the Tegu demon that her grandfather told her. She realized her mistake recently and returned to home. While on the way down to the mountain, Mieko met Yoshi. They talked a lot, and Yoshi accompanied Mieko home. Arrived at Grandma's house, and then Grandma making food for Yoshi, while Yoshi told about her family. Miko took Yoshi to her room to see the treasure. How surprised Yoshi is, and she said, "You having amazing art tools. You must be good at painting," said Yoshi. Miko just kept quiet. Before returning home, Yoshi asked if you were going to school tomorrow. Miko was just silent again. She just needed a little time to think about that. At night, Miko said tomorrow she will go to school. So that made her grandparents smile. It seems that Miko has found her own identity. That night, Miko is very happy while pensive thinking about Yoshi. Miko returned to school, is welcomed by all the students. They start to accept Miko and say, "She is very brave." In class, Miko started writing letters to her mom. She said that she already has many friends including Yoshi. Miko and Yoshi start spending more time together. "You girls are as close as a pair of chopsticks," Grandpa said. Sometimes after school, Miko takes Yoshi to her secret place. In the pipe, they sit and watching hermit crabs around the sand. They collect small shells and gravel that was worn down by the waves. They wander up the mountain collecting yellow and gold leaf for Grandma and for Yoshi aunt, Miss Hisaku. Mr. Suzuki said that would be a calligraphy competition at school, and Yoshi helped convince Grandma and Miko to participate. One crisp fall day, Yoshi announced that there will be a tea party at her house and invite all her school friends. Miko's grandmother prepares a special dress for her on that day of the party. At Yoshi's house, Miko is surprised to see Yoshi's aunt Hisako. While the other girls are enjoying the party, Miko and Aunt Hisako talk about the art of calligraphy. Aunt Hisako reassures Miko, who doesn't believe in her 5 treasures, and said not to be a coward. Until the party ended, Miko almost fell asleep. She still kept remembering what Aunt Hisako had said earlier. As her eyes closed, Miko whispered, "I will enter the contest, even if I don't have the chance to win. It will show her I am not a coward." Miko decides to take part in her school contest, but she gets confused and asks her grandfather for advice about preparing for her calligraphy contest. And Grandpa said, "You must paint not what the eye sees, but what the heart knows. If your heart was beauty, so is your painting." "Do you understand?" Miko nodded sort of. "That's my brave girl," Grandma said. "Imagine how proud your parents will be to see your brushstroke on that brass square." Miko was silent. She wondered if the family would be proud of her, even when she lost. Because she surely would. That same afternoon, she and Yoshi began to work on their brushstrokes. Yoshi opened Aunt Hisako books at the beginning so that they could copy the Japanese word pictures of the master. One night, Miko struggled with practice on her calligraphy paper. Miko was still arguing about her the fifth treasure. The class was growing more excited as the contest drew near. Miss Suzuki asked the artists to bring samples of their painting to school. As the papers were passed around, everyone admired Miko's large, artistic brushstroke, even Akira. However, in spite of the long practice hour, Miko knew that there was still something missing from her word pictures. Even Grandpa agreed. He said, "Your word pictures are correct," he said, truthfully, but somehow they seemed to lack the spark of life. It's almost as if they were printed by a machine. "It's no use," she cried. "The fifth treasure is gone for good," said Miko. The night before the contest, Miko dreamed that the family was once more again together. When morning came, she had just gulped down her breakfast, and then Yoshi came by. Yoshi gave Miko a sheet of handmade rice paper from Tokyo that her aunt ordered. At school, Desks in Miss Suzuki's classroom had been cleared away so that the artists could sit on cushions at low tables. The 20 contestants filled in silently and sat down. Happiness washed over her. She had the fifth treasure again. There was no doubt. "I bet you win," shrieked Yoshi. "If I do," Miyako said quietly, "it will be thanks to you. When I talk of friendship, I talk of you. That's what I paint." Miyako put her feeling for Yoshi into the prize-winning brushstrokes.